we go. All right, I'm rolling it.
Gosh. Okay.
And we're live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Holy Crap, the Vlogcast. Vlogcast that comes from a skeptical point of view to answer some of the questions of why. This Vlogcast started as a combination of spite and the Streisand effect because, believe it or not, if you get the right fortune cookie, it basically gives you the same information as our intro does. Yeah, I got that earlier tonight. Had cheap Chinese food, and it basically said the same thing, that basically the journey is more important than the destination. Oh, right, that was the next part I was supposed to say. I'm your main host. I'm known as Shujin Tribble. You can find me pretty much everywhere under that name. That's Shujin. Hi. At the moment, the only person on with me right now from the Midwest of the U.S. Oh, I have to adjust that because Brigid Fitch. Good evening.
Good evening.
It's worked out interesting that way. I thought we were going to be the only ones. Joining us from Points Unknown, otherwise known as, wow, the January 6th committee is really doing stuff. UnrenownedTech. Good evening. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, it's been interesting the last couple of days, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's really amazing that, well, between the hearings and everything else, what's really been becoming popular lately is the fact that there is a man who is really upset that he couldn't sit down and enjoy his steak. Meanwhile, a 10-year-old rape victim who was impregnated and was forced to be transported to another state so she could get an abortion. But, Mr. Supreme Court Associate Justice Brett Kavanaugh, sorry to everybody named Brett, but, he's doing
Beer
it for,
bro. Beer bro.
Beer bro.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He's pissed that he couldn't have his steak in privacy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because, eating that steak was much more important than body autonomy rights.
Yeah. Well, I
But
mean,
there's no constitutional right for him to have a damn dinner.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, when you're holding public office and you become a public figure,
Yeah.
your only privacy is on your private property.
Yep.
And even then, most people don't realize that most private property has public roads.
Yeah, but that's a whole other issue.
Yeah.
As an aside, by the way, if you do join us live, you can be over on the live chat, of which Stephanie, you made it early. Hi, always good to have you. And congratulations, by the way. Yeah, I know Shaggy isn't exactly out of office, but he's out of office, so go with that. And Felis, good morning. For you, it's good night, evening, whatever. You know what I mean. And here's where the funny part of it is. I just told Brigid a little bit before we got started that I've decided instead of having orange juice tonight, which I was actually going to go ahead and grab, I have over here Orville Trappist Ale. I picked this up a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, you know what? I was going to get orange juice, and it was just like, well, what have I still got in here? Oh, I've still got all these cans of Guinness Zero. Oh, that's right. Don't I still have some? Yes, I do still have one other. So I'm going to be trying Trappist Ale tonight. And Brigid, what did you say about me?
You just keep trying? You try really hard.
Yeah, I do. She told me I was a glutton for punishment.
Yeah, glutton for punishment.
I'm a glutton for punishment. I had tacos in 3 days in a row. And tonight, I have a 48 ounce bottle of cold brew. I'm already a quarter of the way through it.
Okay. Talk about the journey and destination. How about backtracking when that comes back?
Well, apparently...
reflux is a thing! Ooh.
So apparently I've been informed that there is such a thing as no poop July.
Ew,
that's a really bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
That's dangerous.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful head you have there.
I think I did pour it correctly, I think. But um that's
Yeah.
yeah.
So take your finger, touch the
Oh,
tip of your
I
nose,
know.
bridge of your nose.
I know the trick.
Okay.
One of the guys that I was in my dorm suite in college. He used to work at an amusement park, and he told me what the trick was. For those of you that don't know, at an amusement park, it once upon a time ago, I don't know if they still do this, they probably shouldn't. But if they were filling up, you know, I don't want to call them glasses, but the
Cups.
yeah, the paper wax cups with um, brand name
Carbonated.
soft drink of your choice, and
Carbonated beverages.
they ended up with all this foamy type stuff at the top because carbonation.
Uh,
He let me know the quickest way of getting that to go away was to stick your finger into it and then pull it out again because all the bubbles would just go away.
So I learned the trick where you take your fingertip, rub it across the bridge of your nose to pick up some of the oil from your skin, and that breaks this. That causes a chain reaction when you touch the bubbles to have them break the surface tension. Now, this was carbonated soda, not beer. So I'm thinking based on the beer, it might not work.
doesn't look to be working.
But here's the
Nope.
funny part. The time and place that I learned this,
That's a problem.
I was serving sodas at a high school function.
Well,
And
shouldn't be
the
serving beer at a high
adult
school
that was
function.
with me was trying to get me to do that. And I said, "You want me to touch my nose and stick my finger in people's drinks?" And she's like, "Shh, not so loud."
Yeah, the fact that you have to say
didn't
"Shh,
do it.
not so loud is a
Yeah.
pretty damn good indication that you really shouldn't do that. By the way,
I didn't do it. As a child, I knew better.
Beth, good morning. Hope that you're doing well.
That's all.
Yeah,
No, they did do the finger thing when I worked at an amusement park, but that was a long ass time ago.
yeah. See,
People
the problem that
didn't
I've got,
generally wear gloves or anything back then either.
the problem that I've got with this is there's just so much it's gonna get into my mustache. The problem I've got with that is, you might remember from last week, I have since trimmed my mustache. Remember when I was complaining that when you take a drink of coffee, you put down your cup, and then you are still able to have another drink of coffee because it is in the whiskers. That is a good indication that it's time to trim the whiskers. This is
Bless
going to
me.
get on my face regardless.
You could always use a straw. And for those of us who have ever drank alcohol through a straw, know exactly how bad of an idea that is.
That's an incredibly bad idea.
Only way to drink beer.
The worst part would be if I said, why, yes, I do have an ecologically sound metal straw here in my office. That would answer so many questions about me and have so many more yet posed. So this is supposed to be ale?
I have a titanium steel straw.
Yeah, I got one of those too. Trappist ale. Yeah. Yeah. 6.9% volume for alcohol. You know what? I mean, for the moment, it's beer. For the moment, and we'll kind of see.
Try it when it gets warm.
It's
It'll
usually
change
when
the flavor.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays. And the bubbles are actually going down. Yay! Taking a sweet ass time. All right, fine.
Hi, Beth.
We will have the horrible scopes for you, and
Hey,
I'm mentioning about that because there is a
Fabulous.
change this week. I'm not going to explain yet. I'll explain when we get to there. But at least for the moment, let me take care of your 5-minute freestyle first. So, with 5 minutes on the clock for you, your 5-minute freestyle starts right now. Development. There's a very select group of people that would understand the joke if I were to go, developers, 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 developers. Not going to go into that. However, in this case, development is a process. And I'm specifically making sure that we're all on board on the same page for how I mean the term. Once upon a time ago, development used to be a process for getting your photography taken care of, getting it stabilized, getting it ready for people to be able to enjoy it. And some people were able to do it on their own because they had, well, I was going to say they had good ventilation in their dark rooms, but there are a lot of people that not so much. But they still did it because maybe for them it was about the journey of completing, getting your photographic film taken care of. But development in this case is the fact that things take time. They don't just happen overnight. Things may seem, but it's a matter of that there is a journey for things to have happen. They develop over time. Here in the United States, I've railed about this on so many occasions, and it still pisses me off. The United States is very much a reactionary peoples, and it pisses me off to no end. And that's part of the reason why it sucks to look at some things that have taken a long time to develop. The news cycle that we've been in through the last, well, let's call it, 2.5, almost 3 months now, especially. That's taken time to get to that point. And we very much don't want that to stand. We don't want it to, continue to be. We want it fixed. We want it fixed now. And for some of the stuff that we're thinking about, completely understandable. These things have taken time to get where we are, and that's one of the reasons why it's going to take a long time to get away from them. There are certain things that can be done. There are certain people that, I will admit, I do not wish ill upon them, but I will learn to tap dance when I have read their obituaries. To paraphrase, it's going to take time for things to change. But if there's one thing that I've learned in my 50 some odd years, the pendulum does swing. It takes time, but the pendulum does swing. And things will get better. The question is, where is the pendulum right now? Unfortunately, it's not far enough over to one side for us to be comfortable, to see only that there's good ahead. It's still swinging. That's the problem. It's still swinging hard. There are things in place that we want changed. And the mantra of get out and vote because it's the vote of your life. We get that. But the problem is, it has been so much the boy who cried wolf. After a while, you just get tired of it. I know that things will have to take time to get better. But God damn it, they're not going to do anything. They're not going to develop if you don't get things catalyzed, if you don't get things started. You need to roll things downhill. You need to make things happen. Whatever it takes, whatever the cost. But I'm still going to be right there with you voting. because that's what I can do. And I'm going to do what I can. It's episode 3. So, sorry. Episode 412. Losing track of time over here. The Three Musketeers. The expression from them, all for one and one for all, was a little bit too long for the marquee. So I just decided to trim it down. Although it's actually the Three Musketeers plus one, isn't it? But again, that didn't exactly sit well on the front cover of the books. Whatever. But the idea that we're all in this together is starting to become more and more and more a thing as time has gone on. And we're going to talk about some of those things. I'm going to give you concrete examples of the stuff that I have specifically witnessed. I have specifically realized over, again, my 50 some odd years. And I think we might want to kind of try to figure out where it's taking us. Because Lord knows we could probably, figure it out. Maybe not. But we'll see. Anyway, like I said, we do have time for the horrible scopes because it is that time. So for those of you that know what your astrological sign is, it's not gonna matter this week because somebody suggested replacement sign names this week. So you might have a hard time figuring out which horrible scope is specifically designed for you. It really doesn't matter anyway. So it doesn't matter which one you latch on to, just whatever one sounds good. And I'm going to tell you right now, there is a real honest to God truth story at the very end of it all. I'm not going to be the one reading it, but I'm warning you right now. The story is 100% true.
Where's the link?
Don't you have it bookmarked for yourself, you pain? All right. Wait.
I usually do.
Am I going to have to send you to your corners?
Nope.
Huh.
Nope, it's all good. It's all good. Angry cicada. You are considered the symbols of carefree living and immortality, but we know you better than that. Your day-to-day life is stress-filled, and your life peaked 17 years ago. Do yourself a favor. Go to the beach and have someone bury you up to your neck in the sand for a few hours. Just make sure it's done at high tide so you don't drown.
Yeah, that's valid. Moody sheep. You surround yourself with friends, but they don't realize it's for self-protection and not social comfort. If one of them gets picked off, you're still pretty safe. Trust Ralph and Sam to keep you on your toes this week.
Tech,
I
you got that reference.
I hear a cartoon. Yeah, I got several references today. I'm really starting to feel it too.
I understood that reference.
Screaming possum. How the heck? Oh my god. Drugs, people. The best part about being a screaming possum is getting to play dead. Except not. Possums don't just play dead, they mimic being dead, going so far as to release a scent worse than if they evacuated their bowels. This week, if you find yourself overstressed, consider overeating super fatty foods and being trapped on the toilet for a whole day. Active ventilation is highly suggested. And the best part is I've already explained, for 3 days straight I've had tacos. That was perfect.
You're welcome. Crying dragonfly. The only reason you're crying is because you missed seeing Dune in the theaters. Ornithopters are basically oversized steampunk dragonflies, right? This week, channel your inner steampunkedness. By the way, when I wrote that line, steampunkedness, it is hyphenated, steam-punkedness. Google Docs does not have a problem with the spelling of punkedness. I want you all to know that one. This week, channel your inner steampunkedness, wear a top hat with gears on it, a Wi-Fi hotspot in it, and name it Your friendly neighborhood spider lan. We got him to snort. It's gonna be a good night.
Okay, I won't sing. Absurdly colored fuzzy caterpillar. Are you hungry tonight? Because you've eaten basically everything in that one book. Do us all a favor, go to sleep, liquefy yourself, and transform into a butterfly so you stop eating solid food and slurp up liquids from then on. If you're thinking ahead, you'll need at least a month to make honey mead. Better get started.
Lonely Crow. Corvids are social creatures, almost never lonely. They travel in packs, protect one another, and are not against recreating an Alfred Hitchcock movie scene if you piss one of them off. Crows are like the stars in West Side Story. And before you ask which side they'd be, just remember that they are not above carrying knives.
That's about as far as I can do before the DMCA takedown notice happens. So that's as far as I can do for West Side Story. I'm not going to sing us. Yeah.
Boy. I have watched West Side Story against my will more times than I can count.
But which version?
Uh,
The original 60s?
yes.
My parents had the
Because-
2-album vinyl set from that. Wow, that was pretty damn good.
Well, the thing was is that like it seemed like every single substitute teacher in elementary school thought we should watch West Side Story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
accurate.
it's a good movie. It's a good play. It's got some great music.
It was a great musical. The first 5 times I watched it.
There is that. There is that.
It's like asking me to watch Mamma Mia, like a dozen times.
Yeah.
Once or twice, okay. 3, 4, get me a beer. 5 or 6, dude, I'm gonna blow somebody's head off
I don't recommend that.
with a cannon.
I still don't recommend that. Mean Mama Bear. Back in the day, Mama Bear was a female police officer on the CB. These days, being called a Mama Bear might be seen as derogatory, but you know better. You're all nice and calm to those people, right up until you rip their face off. Metaphorically speaking, of course. We would never suggest you should do something actually violent to someone that richly deserves it. That would be wrong. This week, be on the lookout for witnesses.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
I
good
should.
advice.
My previous statement, a metaphorical cannon, loaded with metaphorical grape shot.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Scary bat. Bats are more scared of you than you are of them. It's just a fact. The North American big brown bat isn't really that big. They have a wingspan of 30 centimeters, so just over a foot across and weigh less than an ounce. Once they're flying around in your living room, you'll think they're bigger. Just close the doors, open the window, stand near the wall, and let them find their way out. Do not use a tennis racket on them.
They're adorable. We were talking about some various bats last night. Oh my god, flying foxes are the most adorable. The
They are cute.
most adorable fruit. Because you get pictures of these guys that they're in like sanctuaries and whatnot, and they're all cuddled up, all wrapped up, and it's like, oh, it's feeding time. Here's a little piece of melon for you. It just down.
And then they poop on everything.
Well, I mean, everybody poops. That's
Yeah.
another book reference.
But they poop everywhere.
Well, I mean, don't
Trust
you?
me.
Well,
No.
soon.
Not anymore. I've gotten past that part of my life. Courageous squirrel. The funniest part about squirrels is watching them get drunk in the fall and winter. The saddest part is when you find out that 3-hour power outage was because one of them chewed through a 500,000-volt power line. This week, challenge yourself to do something supremely stupid, because it'll be fun. If you screw up, at least the pain will be over quickly.
It's true.
And I lived in an area where in the summertime, every time there was a major power outage, the next day in the newspaper, yeah, I'm that old, we used to get the newspaper.
It was squirrels.
Squirrel found in transformer box.
Yep.
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 I used
Every
to
time.
see it happen where we lived. You would see them running and hear bang.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, all the lights were out. Yep.
And here's the other thing. I was driving along the other day, and I stopped because there was a squirrel in the middle of the road, and I didn't want to hit it. It was a residential area, so I wasn't going that fast to begin with. And my son asked me, "Why'd you stop?" Now, you have to understand, my son is driving age. I said, "Have you ever seen a squirrel's tooth when it's not inside the squirrel's head?" No. Okay, they're about as long as the tip of my thumb is to my first knuckle. He goes, "Really?" I said, "Yep, look on Google." He did. I was like, "Wow." And I said, "Yeah." Now imagine that puncturing your tire. Well, that would never... Yeah, and somehow a bolt, not a screw with a point, but a bolt with a flat head, wound up in the sidewall of my tire. Murphy hates me.
Yep.
I brake for squirrels.
Neat rock. Some
Googly eyes.
geologic philosophy for you to ponder. The easiest way to make new rocks is to break old rocks. Is it wrong to take rocks out of the wild and keep them in your home, trapped? No matter how hard a rock is, eventually, the tears from the sky will break it.
I like that one.
Think deep thoughts this week and do something nice for a stranger. For the greater good. And may the quartz be with you. It's the best I got.
Leaves are far more important than people think. Trees breathe from them, create food in them, shade the ground with them, and humans will learn which ones to make tea from. Your wealth is in you simply existing, and it's underappreciated. You matter to everyone around you, even if they forgot to tell you themselves. Never forget that.
Remember, the 5th of November. Or was it the 6th? Oh, well. Anyway, pretty but ready to kill beta fish.
As a reminder, this is 100% true, what you are about to listen to.
And considering what I've read so far, I wouldn't argue against that statement too much. I've had beta fish. Pretty but ready to kill beta fish. Before you all dismiss this animal description as ridiculous, you better listen up. In college, there are only a few animals you're allowed to keep as pets in the dorms. Fish in a bowl is one. Most small fish aren't a problem. But beta? My then girlfriend's college roommate,
Meaning mine,
owned one, and it was quickly named Bitch. On returning to the dorms after class, Bitch was not in her bowl, or on the tabletop the bowl sat on. No. Bitch had jumped out of the bowl, and, not content with that, had managed to Magikarp flop around on the floor, onto the desk, and tangle itself into a bunch of dust bunnies. And for an unknown amount of time, and just to prove how much a bitch it really was, she lived until well after the end of the semester. This week, be a bitch.
That story is absolutely 100% true.
And you need, you see where I'm highlighting on there?
Uh, nope.
You can't see my little thingy?
No, because you're not an editor. You're a viewer.
Oh, well, between much and a, you need to add the word of. You're welcome.
Where?
Second line to the last. The second, yeah. And just to prove how much a bitch, you can either, you can do of, how much of a bitch, and then she was, instead of just was. No.
Just to prove
Anyway.
how much a bitch was.
You could do it that way too.
That's the way that I did it.
Well,
Oh.
I have to say, as somebody who
Oh,
you know,
my
used to,
brain blanked out the second bitch. I'm sorry. That's why.
somebody who used to take Shaolin Kung Fu, you could actually use some of these to make tans, animal forms.
Alrighty then. Those
Good.
are your horrible scopes for this week, everybody. Remember, if you like what you got, I don't know what to tell you. You're weird. And I will have these posted online at the end of the week when I start working on the next ones. So if you're wondering what the hell this all was, somebody got in touch with me and said, okay, your astrological signs have been changed for this week. Use these. I did
And
not...
at the same time... Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, I did not acknowledge the message just so that I could spring it on them when they listened to the horrible scopes themselves. And we're surprised to find out that it's their fault.
And yeah, also with me, attempting to do the edit recommendations at the last minute, or after the fact, is a perfect example of whatever the hell science calls that thing that happens to your brain when it starts to ignore words because they're repeated multiple times in a row.
That's
like
fair.
2 and your brain will actually, your eyes will see the two words two next to each other, but your brain will only register one of them. So that was a real life example, unintentional, of that process happening.
You just
See,
blew
I'm
through a
not
red
perfect,
light.
people.
That's what you're talking about.
It's essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, officer, the light wasn't green, yellow, or red. It wasn't lit at all. And
It was
of course,
non-existent.
It was actually red. Yeah, it didn't exist. It's the same thing that the Psychology Association of America, or the American Psychology Associations, APA, I think. Anyway, they did a study and they found we do the same thing with road signs. If there is a massive road signs on the road, our brain blanks out many of them, especially if they're like, reminders of the speed limit and all the other stuff combined.
Gotcha.
Just that massive flood of stuff. Yeah. That's why so many people end up going from like a 55 zone to 45 zone if there's a massive signs in between those shifts and they're on cruise control. Woo!
Yeah. Yeah, I try to be very careful about that kind of thing because cruise control is a very good thing for just, okay, I'm at the speed limit, stay in the right lane, cruise control's on, I'm good. I don't
and I'm
need...
lucky. My cruise control's broken, so I don't have to worry about that problem.
Nah, it's just a convenience for me. But then again, I'm also the type of person that's just like, hey, great, automatic transmission. I hate it. But, that's me. Because, I'm still like my manual transmissions. Anyway, so let's go ahead and talk about this particular thing. Now, as you might have seen, if you read over the information for tonight's show, Governor Newsom over there in California way, who, by the way, has been trolling Florida like a madman. I am so there for it. Yeah, before we get past that point, did you guys hear about that?
Yeah. I support this.
Yeah, he bought advertising time specifically in Florida to effectively tell the people out there, look, your government is intentionally taking away your rights and your freedoms, and they're packaging it as like this really great thing. But no. So you can, if things go bad, or if you just want to, we're willing to welcome you out over by us. So California's willing to take you guys in if you need. And I'm so just, mwah, chef kiss right there.
And he's doing it on Fox.
Yes. Yes. There is an art to trolling, and oh my god, he knows what he's doing. He's got some good people helping him out on this. So, Ace is there. So, aside from the trolling part, Governor Newsom has also announced that California is going to begin manufacturing insulin, selling it and distributing it for their residents. I don't know how much further out past that it's going to be, in order to help cut down the cost that is killing people. Now, to remind people, the cost of insulin in this country is not capped, although there was an attempt to put legislation in place to cap it, but darn gee willikers, it was shot down on ideological positions. Imagine that.
Yep.
So California's basically said, well, there is no patent on insulin, so how about we just make it ourselves and save people's lives and distribute it for and sell it for basically cost and just a little bit more, because I mean, just a little bit more than cost, fine by me. I mean, that makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't cost that much to produce either.
No, it doesn't. And that's why the idea that insulin should cost $300 a month for
More than
someone.
that.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're lucky. I was trying to go for the, $300 a month for life-saving medicine. Holy shit, that's really bad. Oh yeah, by the way, it's actually more than that. What? I was actually going for
I
that.
mean, when I did my stint as a farm tech, which was not that many years ago, I can't remember now, but it wasn't that many years ago. So like within the last 5 years, we were seeing people pay $1,200-1,300 a month for insulin.
Yep.
Then, and I think it's probably gone up since then. I'm just guessing.
Yeah. And as a reminder, $1,200 a month could be the insurance payment for medical insurance for people, which means $1,200 a month before you get to co-pays on anything.
I think that's what I was seeing people being charged that were on Medicare and had gone into the donut hole with their drug coverage on their Part D. It was costing them $1,200 a month. So these are people whose Social Security checks might be $800 or $900 a month. Yeah. And they were having to put it on charge cards if they had charge cards, or just not getting it.
So that's what California's doing. There are a number of communities that have, well, I'm gonna kind of go back a little bit for myself. Reminding y'all, I grew up on Long Island, New York, which, if you're looking at a map, is generally speaking the piece that's ignored most of the time. But if you've got a decent enough map, at the bottom of New York State, there should be this section that kind of looks like a fish. And I say that because when you look at it geographically, it looks like a fish. That's Long Island. Or at least part of it is considered Long Island. There's Brooklyn all the way to the left, and a little bit to the right of that is Queens, and then a little bit after that is Nassau, and then after that it's Suffolk. Counties, I'm saying. Well, actually it's Kings County, Queens County, Nassau County. We don't talk about Nassau because they got bad attitude. But they also had
Hey.
they also had the Shoreham nuclear power plant. And the company that was in charge of power on Long Island was a group called Lilco, Long Island Lighting Company. And I've talked about these guys before. When I was still living down there up through the early 90s, we got hit with three major, or at least the impact was major, hurricanes. Floyd, Hugo, and Gloria. Not in that particular order, to the best of my recollection. I think it was Gloria, Hugo, Floyd. Be that as it may, they got reamed over the coals because they did not handle those power outages after those hurricanes. And the Shoreham nuclear power plant was supposed to have been I believe it was roughly a $6 to $7 million construction. It ballooned into a $6 billion boondoggle. So after some racketeering charges and whatnot, a new group was set up that was basically community owned. So they are now in charge of power on Long Island. And we know full well there are smaller areas where co-ops for power generation have helped themselves out to help their own communities, for groups for internet access. And I'm wondering, these pieces that we've been seeing, is this a forebearer, I think is the right term for it, where decentralization of services is really going to start happening on a scale that we have never seen before. Now, the things that used to tip me off about all this was back in the day when I realized that at-home printing of documents for an affordable amount of money, like, $200 for a unit, would get you as good a print as what you'd get from a $3,000 office model that was networked to a whole bunch of people. But, for $200 for yourself at home, it was perfect. And the photos that you could print off of some of these in total color, they're beautiful. They're perfect. They're as good as anything that you could have gotten from Photomat back in the day. There's an old person reference for you right there. So these things have been going on for a while now. We've got power generation on people's roofs because they get photovoltaics, or they've got wind on generation on their property, or they've got water generators on their property because they can. And we've all, well, I say we have all, a number of us have our little micro supercomputers that double as telephone devices, so that you don't need copper wire to your house anymore necessarily for being in contact with people. So I'm kind of wondering, these things starting to happen, I'm wondering if decentralization of a lot of things that are necessary for living is really going to start happening. And that making of insulin is very much the first thing in my book, because there is no patent for insulin. There never has been. Which means literally anybody could be manufacturing it, so long as they can meet whatever the requirements are from the FDA to manufacture a safe product. And I think that's great. And Felis is giving me shit. Careful who you call it old there, Pilgrim. I'm not getting in the middle of that one. I know better. Because I'm going to make some kind of reference to Buckles, and really none of us really wants that right now. But anyway, So yeah, the idea of, power generations for people's houses, for renewable energy sources, that's great. People have been getting geothermal air conditioning and heating for their houses because they just dump pipes all the way down into the ground and then it's just done. People charging electric vehicles with renewable power sources, fine by me. It's becoming a really interesting thing, and I'm kind of wondering, is this something that we're going to see really take off in a way in a lot of different areas that we hadn't even thought about? Because on top of everything else, don't forget 3D printing of stuff, both in plastics and metal fabrication, are like really becoming a thing too. I almost forgot about that part. I don't have a 3D printer, but I've seen some of the stuff that people can do. I got friends that have done it. I would love to be able to do some of that stuff. I got nothing to do, but whatever. I'd like to be able to print food, but I don't think that's such a good idea.
Star Trek replicators, I'm just saying.
That that is something. That is
Hmm.
something. It's plausible, if not necessarily something that we can do at this point. But who knows? Maybe one day. Be kind of cool.
Well, and another interesting thing about California, people may want to come out there not only for the insulin, but for the Medi-Cal if they're pregnant.
Mm.
It's a lot easier to qualify for in California.
Yeah,
And
there's
we
that.
already know that part of the, infant mortality rate and maternal mortality rate are dependent on whether you have access to good prenatal care or not.
Yeah, that's something that's really pissed me off from the news. Yeah, I want you to go
And
ahead and.
Medi-Cal, if it weren't for Medi-Cal, a lot more hospitals in California would have gone bankrupt.
Yeah, there's that.
I can tell you that firsthand.
That's fair.
Yeah, I miss George Carlin. He predicted all this shit.
Yeah,
He told us, he warned people of this. People think comedians are funny because they make something up and haha, laugh, funny, haha, what all that. Comedians are funny because they tell the truth and it hurts. And that laughter tends to be a defense mechanism against that level of pain.
oh yeah.
It shows empathy, right? And, we tend to empathize over things that hurt us. Some of the things upset us, we don't laugh at them because we can't empathize with that statement. Maybe something that was a racist joke, and it hurt on a different kind of level, so we didn't laugh. Instead, we got angry. But he for a long time talked about conservative movement hating women.
Oh yeah.
Just where they treated women like brood mares. How much more evidence do you need at this point? Not only did they roll back Roe v. Wade, they're going after prophylactics,
Yep.
after medication, any kind of medication. I mean, granted, they're going after the most effective stuff first, Plan B and so on. But then they'll be going after other things too. It's just a matter of time that if they're allowed to continue down the path that they're going, that they'll attack condoms.
Yeah, they're
Because the
already.
rich won't need them. Because if the rich get some random girl pregnant, they'll just either make the girl disappear or ship them out of the country for an abortion overseas, like they've done in the past. Or how about that wonderful church that had a building, a nunnery of some sort? where girls were sent to give birth, and then the babies, the infants, the newborns, were thrown in pits to die. And much later on in time, when they did excavation, they lost count of the skeletal remains of how many it was a big number.
Yeah.
I remember reading about it.
Yeah.
And if I ever find the link to an article for that shit, I will post it. But, you know, they get away with it because they're rich or because they're well connected. We're not rich. We're not well connected. So we don't have that privilege. People tell me, oh, you got white privilege. It's like, yeah, but I don't have the privilege to go around and just knock up any old girl and then make her disappear. I don't have the privilege to run red lights, wave my business card at a cop, and then have them go, oh, sorry, sir. Continue on your way. Have a nice day.
No, you have the privilege just to forget the word bitch. That's all.
Yeah, exactly. So, meanwhile, they've trying to get everybody else to focus on little things so that they can take care of the big things. So while we're scrabbling over something stupid, like that old fart over there said alphabet soup instead of LGBTQ plus, because let's put it real simple. That old fart's 70, 80 years old. They're not remembering much of anything anymore. Leave them the F alone, all right, and move on. All right? They didn't necessarily do it to be mean. They're old. Move on. The dangerous ones are the ones in the suits. Not your next door neighbor who can't mow his lawn because he broke his hip.
Then again, depending as to why he broke his hip, I mean, I might be jealous of him. That's a whole other thing. Beth is reminding us, Irish Times had good articles, if that's the story you're talking about. I do believe that it was Ireland. I could be wrong. I know for well it was somewhere in the British Isles. I just don't recall where that particular story was. If we relocate it in time, I'll make sure that it's in the show notes for us.
Yeah, and the point is that it doesn't matter if it was in Ireland, if it was in America, if it was in
the point
Mexico,
is it happens.
Canada. It happens.
Yeah.
It happens, period. And it happens when a set of circumstances, a certain conditions are met. And we're setting ourselves up for it. We're setting ourselves up for babies in a dumpster, back alley abortions, coat hanger abortions, dead sisters, dead wives, dead girlfriends. We're setting ourselves up for this shit by not holding these pricks accountable.
Yeah.
And I hear people gnashing of teeth, one artist is like, we should dust off our tin snips. It's like, lady, I got 2 pair. You want to borrow one?
Yeah, I got you there. Stephanie's also mentioning 500 is horrific. I have the horrible feeling it was not the only place. Depending as to how broadly you want to think of it, the expression tip of the iceberg, it doesn't even do it justice. I mean, really. And backtracking just for a second, as far as to the brilliance that was George Carlin.
Rest in peace, old man.
No. You know what? No. I'm not going to say rest in peace for him, because he was, as time went on, I think it is fair to say he got angrier.
Yep.
And I would very much like to think, I don't want to think this, but I very much believe the biggest reason why he seemed to get angrier, I can't say that he was because I wasn't there, is that, as was pointed out, by the way, Beth had also pointed out, good comedians are natural observers of the human condition. True. Absolutely true. Comedians are some of the most brilliant people. They are some of the well-versed in the news and the references of the day and past. I believe that George got angrier and angrier because people weren't paying attention to what it was that he was saying, and they just took it as, ha, let's have a good laugh, going back to business. Kind of like all the Catholics that go to Mass and think that they're all absolved of all of their issues, so they'll just come back next week with new ones because, I mean, they were forgiven, so who the hell cares? I'm sorry. Am I ragging on the Catholics again? I'm terribly sorry. I know a little something about this.
Well, he had no problem on ragging on any of them either.
That's true. And rightly so.
So,
Yeah.
I was thinking that. I didn't say it. I was thinking it.
Yeah. He is a voice that I agree. It would be great to have somebody to listen to more like that. We can't have George back.
Mm.
And his brand of earlier than angry comedy was quirky, observational. He was what was the skit that he used to do? He used to have the druggy weathercaster.
It's your hippy dippy weather, man, with
Yeah.
the hippy dippy weather, man.
Yeah, and it was a great bit. It was a great bit. Don't get me wrong.
And he even also, when he was doing one of his skits during stand up, he said, "And don't forget, this is Mr. Conductor talking."
Yeah.
And for those
How
of
he
you who don't
landed
know,
that role, I have no idea. I think that's
because
freaking
he is a
amazing.
great orator.
He
He was a great orator.
That's true.
He was clear. He was concise. He said the things that he meant to say. He rarely ever stumbled when he spoke, when he got out on stage.
Well,
You could see it.
well, there. I've talked about it before. There was that one time that he came out to the college that I was at where he lost his place and he started to repeat the bit that he had just finished, and he's just like, "Oh, I just said all that shit. Well, fuck me. All right, whatever. Moving on." It was really funny for us to be looking at each other going, "Wait, didn't he just say this?" And he changed his index cards because he forgot where he was.
And that just demonstrates that he was also human.
Yeah. Yeah. And
We should
he
never.
had a good sense of humor about it too.
I never once idolized George Carlin. Made me laugh, made me understand things, but I never idolized him.
You appreciated him.
Yeah,
And that's
I respected the man.
That's a different.
There are a lot of comedians that at some point went over the edge or whatever, but for a time I appreciated them. Some I grew to appreciate more as they made mistakes and corrected themselves for it,
Yep.
But all too often we find ourselves, rather than listening to voices of reason in the many forms that they take, and instead we listen to the FUD, the fear, uncertainty, and doubt that's being screamed from the pulpit. And I say that on purpose.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the pulpit being not just the pulpit in the religious sense, but in the technological. Our cell phones, our televisions, our radios, our newspapers, the press, the politicians, and the religious leaders are all creating problems.
Yeah. I thought you were going to use the term ideologues for the religious, but the leaders. is
That's
good enough.
not something that's usually in my lexicon.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
It makes sense and is probably more appropriate.
Yeah, but then again, my brain is lubricated just enough right now. So,
Well, I'm running on pure caffeine at this point.
yeah, caffeine's good.
Oh, yeah.
Caffeine's
In
good.
fact, I'm down 24 ounces on my cold brew. It's not condensed cold brew. That's one thing I found that I was making a mistake on early on. Depending on where I was getting my cold brew from, in some cases you actually had to add water to it first.
Okay.
Because it was it's essentially was very condensed, very strong.
Fair enough.
Concentrated. That's the word I'm looking for. See, my lexicon's not the greatest thing in the world. This is why I am not a comedian.
Well, that and your training, but be that it may.
I'd make a better clown than a comedian.
Not.
Oh, yeah.
No.
I'd look
Just-
great in those pants, man.
No.
Mhm.
No. And
I'd have a red balloon.
no.
Sorry about that.
No. No. You know, I was about to make a fat joke about the size of your pants already, but
My pants
Just-
actually went down. I've been working out. I pick things up and I put them down.
okay.
Yeah. So anyway, my point still stands though.
No, you're right.
We've got a lot of people that are just creating fear, uncertainty, and doubt rather than sitting down and, like I've said so many times before, having a frickin' conversation.
Trying to have these conversations has been a pain in the ass too.
It's hard to have conversations if the other side's not willing to listen or engage.
In an honest, forthright, and above board method. You're right. You're exactly right. And that's one of the biggest pieces that we've got. We've got one of the, I mentioned this to somebody just earlier today, as a matter of fact. Red Skelton, he was also a really, really great one.
Yeah, he also made the claim many times that he was a clown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was great. He was great. That's completely sidetracking because I'm gonna go down one of those rabbit holes because you know full well I love the older comedians. I love the old time comedians. Anyway, leaving that aside a second. Here's something that is going to be kind of a blast of the past for a lot of folks that are of a specific age bracket. Like those of us that can remember a time before Ronald Reagan. Jimmy Carter. Some people will remember derisively as, oh, that peanut farmer boy. Jimmy Carter wanted the United States to be able to transition from the imperial to the metric system, was stymied by Congress who did not want to fund his initiative. First off, Congress, screw y'all on that one. We are almost the only country that still uses the imperial system. It's your goddamned fault. Leaving that aside a second. He was a pretty smart guy. He had solar panels installed on the top of the White House during his tenure to help power the building. And as soon as Ronald Reagan came in, ripped that shit right off again.
Oh yeah. You know what? As a kid,
You remember that?
as a young adult, I remember my parents getting real freaking ripped over that one. You know, because all the taxpayer money that went into putting them up there to save taxpayer money,
Mm-hmm.
and then more taxpayer money being made by some jackass to rip it down again and
Yeah.
cause more taxpayer money to get wasted. Yeah.
Yeah, and I forget which president it was. I want to say it was LBJ. I could be wrong, but one of them during lean times for fuel, you know, back in the black and white era, shall we say, you know, like Second World War time, instead of having the lawn mowed, had goats brought in to chew off the tops of the grass and keep it, quote unquote, manicured, if you will. Because it was simpler and it didn't cost fuel. Except for the transportation of the goats, but I mean, what big deal, you know?
Yeah.
There's
a point where you're not saving what you think you're saving.
Yeah. I was going to say, there are so many buildings constructed across the world. And what's on the tops of them? The vast majority are roofing. Okay. What's to stop people from having photovoltaics put on top? I mean, anybody that's watched dystopian future Japanese anime from the 80s know full well. Bubblegum Crisis, perfect example. Tokyo, all the tops of the buildings have photocells up on top for power. Just done. Because it's there already. The real estate is there already. And contrary to what some elected officials have tried to say, and this was a real argument that was put, we shouldn't be using solar panels because they will eventually collect all the photons from the sun.
There are some people who need to go back to school.
I don't think that would help. I really don't think that would help.
I'm willing to take that chance by sending them back. And let them sit in the front of the class this time. Yeah, that's just me personally.
That's a thought. Stephanie's pointing out, actually, I'm sorry. Actually, you do not even use the imperial system as your measures. Divert from the imperial measures. For example, a pint is 20 fluid ounces in the UK, 16 in the US. Which is probably why we can't get drunk on anything because it's all piss water anyway. Sorry, that's a whole other thing. No, and you're right. And all of our public measurements are standardized off of I don't even want to say metric standards, but international standards. And I forget what the actual term is for that, but yeah, it's just a matter that we still use the imperial system visibly in the public, and that's just a pain in the ass all the way around. It really is. And Stephanie also pointed out, goats tend to eat bushes rather than grass, so I'm just going off the top of my head, so I didn't remember. Sheep would have been better. You know what? It might have been, come to think of it. And deer, more photogenic. You ever tried to get a deer into a 43 Buick and take it into the White House? They don't like getting in. They really don't. I'm just saying.
Day means day.
Yeah. And Beth was saying that excuse is still being used. 2012 election cycle, if I remember correctly. I lost track in my head where that, which excuse that was supposed to be. You know, I should actually try to process stuff before I read it off the screen. Sorry about that. This does not happen very often, so it's one of those things. But the idea of I don't know that anybody's well, let me ask you too. Have you ever seen on YouTube the videos of people that have done off the grid power generation for themselves?
Yes.
Brigid, you're
Yosh.
okay. Have you ever seen these?
I've seen several.
Can't say that I have.
Fine. The
ones that I've seen don't make claims for infinite energy, though.
No.
The ones that I've seen take a, hey, look, if you don't understand what we're talking about in terms of this, that, and the other thing, find somebody who does to help you, kind of thing. But here's the documentation. Here's where you can read up on this. Here's where you can source these materials if you happen to be in this area. This is how we hooked it up. This is the safety precautions that you have to take into account, and so on and so on and so on. So the ones I watched were, pretty real. These were not make infinite energy out of boiling water kind of bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah, the ones that I've seen, most of the time have been the folks that have been lucky enough to have a good amount of property with water flowing. And they've built water, uh, water turbines, which, generally speaking, aren't terribly technologically challenging. And
No.
they've been able to generate enough power for their houses with, I mean, yeah, for some of the stuff, it's, a couple of $1,000s in total materials and, putting stuff together. But yet again, once it's done, it's pretty much faultless.
Well, you have basic maintenance that you have to go into it based on weathering the elements
Sure.
and so on. What they have, the reason why these things work so well, though, is because we've made advances in LED technology and circuits, transformers, battery capacitance,
And the math that
and
goes
so
into
on.
how to figure out all this fluid
Yeah,
dynamics.
yeah. And the thing is that the people who do these things, they take their time, they think it through, they plan it ahead, they work it out, they double check and triple check their numbers. They don't just walk into it and go, I'm going to drop it around $1,500 and I'm going to have a perfect system. No. There's no perfect system.
And some of the ones that I've seen, there are guys who are just like, all right, so what we're going to be doing today is blah, 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 blah. Okay. And they get to the end of the video and they're just like, well, that didn't exactly go to plan. All right. So here's what we
Yeah,
found
my
out.
favorite one. Yeah, my favorite ones are the ones where this is what we had planned to do, this is what happened, and then they go on to figure out how to correct the mistakes.
Important part, though, I've never seen anything blow up. Very
Agreed.
important piece. That is a very important piece. And before anybody thinks that I'm joking around, considering the number of lead acid deep cycle big 12-volt batteries like you would see, the batteries that I'm talking about would be bigger than stuff that you would typically find in a car. But the power density in these things is absolutely incredible. And these folks would be
Marine batteries.
Yeah, they would be
They're
deep. They would be daisy chaining like 6 of those suckers.
Yeah, the marine batteries are what you find in like the boats and stuff like that.
Yeah, and they are designed to just you when you're in the off season, you hook it up to basically the equivalent of like a USB charger, and you just let it sit for like forever until you need to take it out again, and it's perfectly happy, perfectly fine. Oh, you discharged a portion of it? Okay, sure. When's the next time you're going to be bringing it out again? It's going to be a couple of months. All right, we'll just plug it back into the thing again. Trickle, 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 trickle. I love those batteries. Used to use those for ham radio stuff all the time. Oh, not that same type of battery, but the same technology, but in much smaller units. Stuff that you could put onto your belt that gave you workout because they were so heavy. God, those were the days. I'm sorry, I'm thinking back on stupid stuff. Anyway,
The tie-in.
oh, before you do, Stephanie, I think I'm thinking of the same one as you. One guy in New Zealand got his water generator broken by sudden flooding. Yeah, that is definitely something that can end up happening. He sorted it. His generator was a washing machine motor. I think I remember this guy in particular. And yeah, he basically took a washing machine, gutted it, changed a couple of pieces around, and hooked it all up and got it working, and it was just worked. Yeah, until it flooded over, because I mean, there's only a certain amount of water you can take.
I always found it interesting that so many of these people are willing to share knowledge, willing to share time and energy to help each other. When mistakes are made, they're willing to step in, help each other out. Oh, dude, you're short on supplies. You got to get this project finished. Yeah, here, let me help you out. I got a little I can spare you, and so on and so on and so on. And then when it comes time to vote, oh no, I can't vote for these people. They want to do socialism. They want to give stuff away. They want to do X, Y, and Z, and help people that I don't know. And then there it is. There's the click.
Yep.
They don't know them, so why help them? Well, guess what? Nice people who think you're the nicest people in the world. Uh, when somebody in your family or your line of friends suddenly needs an abortion because they're going to die without it because it's one of those complicated ones, well, the rest of the world doesn't know your friend. They don't know you. You're strangers. So that mentality of yours, which is highly contagious, by the way, yeah, you may have just killed your friend. Just saying.
Yeah. As a reminder,
But
because
but you're willing to help out your next door neighbor get that solar grid off the ground. Sure.
yeah, as a reminder, because I know full well that Brigid would know the answer to this. Brigid, what is the percentage of mortality from ectopic pregnancies?
Treated or untreated?
Untreated.
Uh, Mortality rate's gonna be like 100%.
That's what I was looking for.
It's just a matter of, when things blow up and go boom.
And usually, when things blow up, go boom inside of bodies, that qualifies as a VBD, right?
I mean, yeah, but you've got some OB/GYNs now that are having to wait to treat ectopic pregnancies until things rupture and go boom, because that's what their attorneys are advising them to do.
Yeah. Now we kind of touched on that last week, and there was a question that I was trying to get to last week on this question, and I want to get this from you as best I can. When the rupture happens, how much of a window is there at that point to save the patient, time wise?
Well, I mean, it can be a couple of days, but any delay at all is not good.
No, I know.
And waiting a couple of days is risky as hell. A person may not even make it that long, but that's kind of where we are now. They cannot intervene until a woman starts, having serious issues. They're trying to decide now how, in danger of dying and imminent death does a person have to be in before they can do anything. So they're like, okay, does that mean go into cardiac arrest? Does that mean that labs just start looking wonky? Where is that line? And nobody knows. So, I mean, there was a tweet that I saw earlier of a woman in Missouri who has a patient that is 14 weeks pregnant, and there's still cardiac activity, but the water's broken. Delivering a fetus at 14 weeks, it's not viable. So she is still waiting to hear from attorneys to figure out what they can do for this patient, because the pregnancy is not viable, and the only thing they can do at this point is send her home until she goes into sepsis and then have her come back.
Yeah, there are two pieces that just came up on the chat. Felix was asking, can lawyers and insurance companies be sued for medical malpractice? And
See,
before,
that's the other side of the coin.
yeah, and before you get any further on that one, Beth had also said a ruling just came in today that they must be in sepsis. So
Hmm.
pretty much, right on the piece that you're talking about. But the
And
idea,
mortality rate for sepsis, for anybody who's wondering, can be anywhere from 40 to 70%. It
yeah,
depends on if they go into shock. It depends on whether it's a resistant organism or not.
Yeah, so it's a coin toss.
Yeah, in a good scenario, you're talking about at least a 40% mortality rate.
yeah, and let's face it, nobody wants to tempt the great God Murphy because you know full well every time you roll the dice, there is always a one waiting to happen.
Well, sepsis causes organ damage. I mean, full stop.
Yep.
You don't want it.
Yeah, because
And it's hell to treat it.
that's one of those conditions where it's a domino effect afterwards, isn't it?
Hmm. Your organs start failing. I mean, it just pretty much sucks to be you. And then, to have antibiotics and then, ICU stay if you happen to make it.
And that's unfortunately too big an if for my tastes.
And if you don't have insurance, then what? Go bankrupt?
You better be rich.
Yeah.
Oh wait, the rich don't have to worry about that. The politicians don't have to worry about that.
For
That
any
that
of you people who've never had ICU bills for sepsis, it can run in the low millions of dollars. It just depends on how sick you are and how long you have to be in ICU. And whether they have to put your ass on ECMO or not. It just all depends.
and of course the politicians have the best healthcare money can buy because they have money that can buy it. I'm
Yep.
sorry, am I sounding really sarcastic and pessimistic right now?
Well, you're
If I'm not, I'll work harder.
no, that's okay. There is
Uh, where they're at now is trying to decide this patient is a safer thing to try to fly her to Colorado where she can still get an abortion or drive her somewhere taking a chance of being in a car out in the middle of nowhere with no cell phone reception and having her crash. Those are the two options. They're thinking at least if she's on an airplane and is close to the bathroom, at least she's got an out there kind of sorta and can get it taken care of. But it's not a good option because she could die on the plane. They are trying to get her out of state though.
there is a thing that I heard recently, and this very much definitely does not fall into the the umbrella of where we are at the moment. But I don't want to end up forgetting about it. Somebody had said, and again, it's one of those things I don't remember where the hell it was that I found it. Why the hell should people be proud to serve in the military? Give me a second. If something happens to you, medically speaking, what is your country going to do for you? Generally speaking, the answer is nothing. You're on your own. So, for the beginning
Hopes.
years of your life, your country is not doing anything for you. What do you have to be grateful for that you would want to give of yourself for such an institution? And I'm highly paraphrasing the way that I heard it now. And I had never heard somebody put it in that context before. And wow, what an eye opener for me to suddenly think these kids that go into the military being dangled the idea of being able to pay for college, getting a great retirement after who only knows how many years, and deployments, and the possibility of having to take a life or having their own taken. And in exchange for what to begin with? Blind belief in nationalism. Wow. I'd never considered it that way before. They say respect is earned, right? I know. Completely derailing from everything else, but I'm terribly sorry. It's one of those ideas that had popped up and I did not want to forget about it. And I wanted to make sure I had it out there because I have a bad habit of having these great ideas come up that just poof. What was I thinking about? Oh crap, I don't remember what it was I was thinking about. I'll remember later.
Well, it blends into
Spoilers.
the whole thing.
Never remembered later.
It blends into the whole thing. You know, you've got people out there who think that the best thing that they can do for their country is to create insulin at a lower cost and get it out there to save as many lives as possible.
Yep.
And they think that it's in the best interest of their country. While other people think it's the best interest of their country to price gouge the people who need it to live.
That is very true.
Yep. But you have to keep in mind that same state that is wanting to manufacture the insulin to help its, citizens also has some of the strongest laws on the books as far as, taking leave after you give birth and, having paid sick time for COVID and things like that.
Oh, yeah. Let's not glorify, just because somebody did something nice once, okay, doesn't mean that they're perfect or that they're even a good person. There are plenty of groups out there that have done quote unquote nice things, but they're doing it at the cost of everything else. Case in point, I saw a Comcast commercial talking about how it's repaying its customers by giving out these gift award things where they're sending them off to sporting events or NASCAR or things like that, with all these packages. And I'm going, okay, wait a minute. Let's think this through. Your price markup is making hundreds of percentage points in profit. How much does it cost you to send that one person or even their entire family to NASCAR? A fraction of a fraction of a fraction of the percent of the money that you made. You're not repaying anybody.
No, you're just adding to
You're
the PR.
you're throwing a gimmick out there, and you're hoping that people forget about that. You just raised the cost of their packages another $5.
Yeah, you want to pay back? It's easy. Don't raise prices. Leave it stationary.
Mm-hmm. Or better yet, you really want to pay it back? Give me a la carte options. I don't need any sports channels. Why? Because I don't like sports. I don't watch sports. I don't enjoy sports. I hate the announcers more than anything. If I want to see sports, I'd rather see them in person. Honestly, I enjoy a good football game in person. On TV, I'll watch the Super Bowl because I think the commercials are usually funny as hell. I'm one of those people. But I don't like the announcers. Mute the game. That usually pisses off everybody else in the room. I'm there for the food at that point.
There are only 3 sports announcers in history who have ever been worth listening to. Phil Rizzuto for the Yankees. Bob Uecker
Oh, he was good.
for whichever group it was that he was with. I've completely forgotten. And Mean Gene Okerlund for the World Wrestling Federation. Notice I very specifically said World Wrestling Federation.
Mm-hmm. WWF, baby.
Yeah, back in the day. Because we know full well. Now, I am specifically leaving out Howard Cosell because he was a pain in the ass.
Yeah, he got on my nerves.
Yeah.
Kind of like in the way that Gilbert Gottfried got on my nerves.
I kind of enjoyed Madden when he would talk football a little bit.
Yeah.
But when he got down to actually discussing, the mechanics, the maneuvers, the skill sets that he observed, the talent, things like that. Not the politics of the sport, but the actual nitty gritty. It was fun to listen to him at that point because he knew his shit. There are plenty of sports announcers that know their stuff, but it was something about listening to him talk about it and his particular pitch of his voice, the vocal inflections, how he carried the conversation and such. I kind of like that from time to time, but for the most part, that was on like some kind of review talking about something that already happened, not a live event. Again, I'd rather just watch the football on mute for the Super Bowl. But I keep pissing off people every time I do that.
Yeah, I get that. And Beth is also mentioning Rick Jenneret. Yeah, from Buffalo. Yeah, it's all right. It's fair.
But yeah, no, it's. I forgot where I was going with that.
When all is said and done, let me bring this all on track. When all
the
is said and
caffeine's
done,
wearing out.
there is the big boogeyman term, socialism. I much prefer the idea, if you break it out, communalism. We work together as a community, as a society, and it is in our best interest long term to actually have care for each other. That's how the human species has been able to continue to thrive and survive for millennia.
Altruism works.
Millennium? Oh crap! What is the plural of millennia? Or is that the plural?
It's probably the pearl.
You know what?
Plural.
I don't care.
Pearl.
For a
Yeah,
very long time.
my caffeine's wearing out.
For a
I
very
think
long time.
millennia is plural,
Okay.
but I'm not going to swear to it. I can Google it.
You can do whatever you want. No, it's all good. And I don't want you swearing on this episode yet.
Okay.
We'll get to it later. The point being is that these things that are happening, where there are groups, where there are public groups, meaning arguably government groups, that are just going ahead and saying, we need to do this for the betterment of all of our peoples. Sure, yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Like I said, from the outset, manufacturing a product with virtually no per unit overhead, at least as far as to having to pay somebody the rights to do it, you cannot believe how empowering that is right off the bat. For some people to believe this, by the way, we've heard for many years now the term MP3 for music. The MP3 standard has been around for quite a long time now.
Yeah.
Any program, any device that is set up for decoding MP3 audio files has to pay a royalty to the group that has it. You don't have to pay anything for encoding software, but for decoding, you have to pay a royalty. And that's why there were a number of groups that came up and said, you know what? We're going to do it our own way. We're going to use our own algorithms, and we're going to do it better. And that's why, and I know I'm spinning my nerd tires here, that's why all of my music is an UG Vorbis. Because it is an open source system that has reliance on no overhead for royalties. You want to encode, you want to decode, doesn't matter. Everybody everybody has access to it, and it's free that way. So the idea that any company, any organization could just go ahead and say, I'm going to go ahead and start making insulin. I love that. I absolutely love that. And you were saying earlier, Brigid, the manufacturing process is relatively inexpensive.
That's what I hear.
So the idea that people have to be spending, a couple $100 a month to be able to get it is simply unconscionable. And then what is it? Wait, who was it? Was it Farmer Bro? Pharma Bro
Pharma Bro.
who
Skrelly.
yeah, who went
Yep.
ahead and jacked up that price because he could.
Yep.
Fuck him.
But he went to prison for it. But
Still,
it was because he
fuck him.
jacked it up to such a ridiculous amount that it was just, yeah. I mean, I get it that people in California pay more in taxes to get the nice things, but I think it's a fair trade-off.
Yeah,
If I could afford to move out that way, I would.
yeah. I mean,
They do get more nice things.
yeah. We've talked about that. Taxes in Canada are pretty high, but as has also been mentioned, yeah, but look what you get for it. How many times did Dalan say, "Yeah, I'll pay an extra $100 a month in taxes to make sure that a kid on the other side of the continent is able to get a heart replacement surgery and it's covered on insurance." Yeah, I got no problem with that. I've said it before too. I'd be totally on board on that too.
Yeah, I'm looking to see how much it costs to make insulin. It depends on whether it's the human insulin or the analog stuff that people make now.
If memory serves, I don't remember if it's a brand name, but Humulin, I think is the name for it. Anyway,
But anyway, it costs between $2 to $6 to make per vial.
per vial?
Mm-hmm.
As in, like, the vial that would otherwise be selling for over $300 retail?
Yep. Now, if it's human insulin, it's about $2.28. But if you're taking one of the analogs, it's like between $3.69 to $6.16 to manufacture. So it just depends on which source.
So, as an average, it's a fiver.
$6, five or $6. Yeah.
It's a fiver for a vial
Mm-hmm.
that could sit in your refrigerator for months until needed. I don't know what to do with that now because I did not know that.
Yeah, I didn't know it was that inexpensive either until I just looked it up.
I am trying very hard right now.
Do not scream.
Scream, curse up a storm, reminding you that I am Italian and I'm very, very, very close to dropping the grand poobah of all Italian curses right now, and that really would not be good.
Yeah, now this was as of March 2022,
That's
so
close enough.
close enough.
That's
Yeah. I actually think that, I think that Gavin Newsom could be gearing up for a presidential run.
possible.
Don't hold me to that, but that may be what's up. But if he could just torpedo DeSantis, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Stephanie is also mentioning insulin cannot be kept months, weeks. Yes.
Yeah, it does expire. And it has to be kept refrigerated.
Yeah, I do remember that it had to be refrigerated. You know what? I don't remember how long it would nominally last. You know what? I stand corrected on that one then. I'll take that. I'll take the L on that one. That's fair. But still,
Yeah, it's saying unopened. After about a year, it expires.
okay.
But once you open it, about 30 days.
Well, I mean, then again,
Yeah.
somebody that is on, daily insulin. I mean,
Hmm.
yeah, and I don't remember if that would still be the same one that you would use for animals. Like, for instance, I know for well, I had to deal with my cat, and I know there are a number of people that have got cats with diabetes and got to take it.
Yeah, I mean, mine takes Lantus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Just
Anything else that I can insert in there to piss you off further? I didn't mean to.
go right ahead if you've got it.
I can't think of anything. I just
Oh, that's good. Thank you.
you were talking, so I just thought I would look.
That fine. That's perfectly fine. I'm not happy about it, but it does warm my cold heart just a little bit to think of little farmer boy just rotting away still to this day. He is still in prison, right?
I think he's been released. I think he served 6 years.
Oh, god damn it.
Can check real quick.
It's not going to matter because I'm not going to be able to get close enough to clock him in the nads myself. I would like to. I wouldn't do it. So if I call for bail money,
Yeah, he was released in May.
fuck, damn it.
But he only served 4 years out of a 7-year sentence.
Yeah. Well, don't forget, despite everything that he did, he's still rich.
Mhm.
And the rich never serve full term. They put him in there to make an example of, dude, look, we know what you did. We know why you did it. We do the same things, but we're just not so blatant about it. So therefore, you need to be made an example of. And after a couple of years in prison, all right, you've been made enough of an example. The internet's never going to forget you. We'll let you out now. That's the way it works.
I was this close. I was this close to saying it this time. Those of you that know Italian know exactly what's like circulating in the back of my head right about now. But you know what? For people like him, at least there is also somebody like, well, I don't know that there is somebody like, there is very specifically Mark Cuban and his discount pharmacy stuff. We've talked about that before, where it's where he's got generics that he's selling at cost plus I forget what it was, cost plus 10%, 15%, but at least a very low markup just to be able to get people drugs that they need at as affordable a cost as possible. You know, he's
Here's the real kicker, though.
yeah,
The damage that he did has never been reversed.
no, it has not.
I just went to go look at this, and the cost of the generic of that drug is still $700 a pill. Now, it only dropped $50 after all that.
I don't know. I don't know what to do with stuff like that. I don't know. And backtracking a little bit, Stephanie's reminding us, when you start going on about the high taxes, add in your medical insurance to your taxes, and such countries usually have excellent public transport and facilities. True. It's true. The amount of money that we spend in the United States on medical coverage, and I want to say this in a very straightforward way. The amount of money that Americans pay out of pocket medical, real medical, not this watered down BS and the woo woo medications, but I'm talking about copay for stuff. It's an unconscionable amount of money.
Yep.
When if the medical insurance payments covered everything other than over-the-counter drugs, because over-the-counter, that's self-maintenance stuff, but for medical emergency stuff, doctor's visit, checkups, eye care, dental, making sure that if you suddenly have, oh God, what the hell is it called? When you have a piece of intestine pop out through the wall.
Hernia.
Hernia, thank you. Stuff that's, an emergent problem suddenly. If that were actually covered, where you don't have to pay anything more, what the hell are you paying insurance for in the United States otherwise to these private for-profit industries? You'll forgive me for wording it this way, it just doesn't add up.
It's a racket.
Yeah. And before anybody says it, we know, we've talked about it before, there are a number of things that you don't get in Canada along with your medical insurance, but it's a damn sight better than what you get over this side of the border, where if you don't have medical insurance, you don't
You die.
have medical insurance. Yeah, you just...
Even if you have medical insurance, you can still
Sometimes you
die.
die.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and I've said it before. We got exceptionally, incredibly lucky. When Fuj had cancer, she was the biggest outlier for medical payouts in the company simply because of that. And we had virtually everything covered. But after she passed, oh, you better bet the company started changing the plans that were available real hard.
Of course they
Yeah.
did.
Yeah, that happened where my husband worked too. One of his coworkers got cancer and died, and they went from having coverage to not being able to get group coverage at all
Yeah.
for any price.
This is nothing new.
No, it's not.
It's what happens when you have an industry that demands that they regulate itself. There is some regulation on it now, but that regulation, it's the bare minimum required. It's like saying, look, here's this glass of highly toxic liquid, so you can't drink out of the cup. Use a straw. And you're thinking, what the hell, man? That makes no sense. I'm still going to have problems, but now I have to buy a straw? It's like you spend money, you get sick, you spend more money, and then they charge you even more. And you're probably still sick by the time you're done.
When they came out
If
with those
not dead.
the high deductible plans back in 2014 freaked me out. First time I ever saw one, I thought it had to be a mistake.
Yeah.
The deductible on it was $38,000.
Yeah, so it's like, what the hell was the goddamn point? And Felix has pointed out, and insurance companies can tell doctors what they can prescribe, and that's why they should be liable. Absolutely. And we've talked about that before. You've railed about that on many an occasion before.
Yeah. And it's not just medical; it's dental too. For a while there, I couldn't figure out why one of the dentists that I was going to was constantly trying to cap all my teeth. It was the only thing the insurance company would pay for. Cap this, cap this, cap this. You got this problem, cap it. You got this problem, cap it. I finally went to another dentist that didn't take shit from the insurance companies and said, look, this is what they need. You're going to pay it or we're going to file. And suddenly insurance companies started abandoning that dentist. But for a while there, that dentist was able to use the paperwork and stuff against them. The dentist is still in business, but they point out that, there's quite a few insurances that won't accept them anymore. And that was because they wouldn't back down. They wouldn't say, no, I'm not going to just cap some freaking teeth and call it a day. I'm actually going to fix their teeth. And boy, insurance companies don't like to be told what to do.
Because it's their money.
And that's the problem. No, it's not. It's my money, you dumb son of a bitch. Not you, specifically, them.
I got you. But yeah, it drives us collectively up the wall.
And I'm going to throw this out here just in case nobody knew because it flew under the radar, and I still find it kind of weird. Anthem has changed their name.
Okay, remind everybody what or who Anthem is.
Anthem is the parent company of a lot of the Blue Cross and Blue Shield companies. They're all under they're independent from state to state, but most of them are under the umbrella of Anthem. Anthem is like one of the largest insurers out there, but they've been sued so many times now for sitting on millions and millions of dollars of payments and all kinds of really shady crap that they have decided to rebrand, and so their new name is Elevance. Why would they rebrand? Maybe
For some reason, the Mercs overseas that rebrand. They killed a bunch of people.
Thought I would tell people that just in case. I just found it kind of interesting.
Would possibly be the same reason why American Telephone and Telegraph became Verizon, or why or why Roadrunner became Spectrum.
I remember Roadrunner.
Yeah, so anyway, that's just your little tidbit. Is Anthem, Blue Cross, and Blue Shield is now Elevance for reasons that they will not disclose. And that's all I'm going to say.
I have a pretty good idea as to why. Because if the filing, follow me on this one, you're going to see why I've been termed DJ Cynic for a long time. Because is it possible, however unlikely, that along with the name change, the previous company by legal entity name, if it no longer exists, it can no longer have the new company under a new name be beholden to past debts.
Yeah, and to let you know how big they are, they currently insure 118 million people. That's what, a third of the population?
That is a third of the population. Now, do I think that my thing about could they possibly get out from underneath whatever debts and lawsuits and all that happy horse shit, do I think that that's a real likely possibility? Legally speaking, I think it would be real difficult to make that have happen. But again, the cynic in me says if they could find a way to do it, they'll do it.
Of
They'll do it.
course I will.
Because even if they do it in an underhanded method, if they get called out on it, and if they get punished for it, it would be a line item on their books for, well, this happened. Oh, so we get slapped for 0.01% of our yearly income. Cost of doing business, okay, keep going.
Yeah, these fines and such, they're flat rate. They need to be percentage of gross.
They need to hurt.
Oh yeah, they need to make it so that the people in charge feel it, the people on the board feel it, the company feels it, and to take away companies being personhood right bullshit, take that away so that they don't have those protections to fall back upon, and then we might start to see some changes. Might being the operative word. Why? Because you might be a DJ snag, but I'm a frickin' pessimist combined with a realist.
There's something to be said for that. We got a wrap. I didn't realize that we were as late in as we are. You guys got anything really quick to finish off with?
If we got a rap, I can't beatbox to save my life, man. We're screwed.
Perfectly fine. Not.
Yeah, I was
no.
going to say this rebranding may be trying to dodge lawsuits because the DOJ is after him for Medicare Advantage fraud, and Manhattan U.S. attorney has filed some fraud charges, and yeah.
It's starting to sound a lot like Lilco back in the 80s with Shoreham, but what the hell do I know yet?
Yeah, and they got hit with another $50 million lawsuit from Delaware. Nice.
That sounds like a good start.
Yeah.
Any actual last before we get out of here, guys?
I don't think so. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But in other related news, I see that Ronnie Jackson's freaking out on Twitter.
You're gonna have to fill me in on that one after.
Yeah, apparently he's really upset about the J6 hearing that's coming up on Tuesday, where they're gonna discuss the Oath Keepers and why they were trying to protect Ronnie Jackson. Ronnie Jackson used to be Trump's doctor, and now he's one of the reps in Texas.
Ah,
So he may have some splaining to do.
that'll
They
be.
use the word protect, but I don't think it means what they think it means.
Yeah, but whatever it is, he's rattled about it because you don't bust a caps lock on Twitter unless you're kind of worried.
Or you're stupid.
Or both.
I'll go both.
Stupid worried.
I'll go
I'll do both.
That case, I'll just wrap us with this to finish it off with. Taking care of each other is one of the highest callings societally. We have revered teachers. We have revered doctors. We have revered people that help us. The ones that make a difference in making sure that we stay together. I am very much looking forward to seeing what California does for its people, because it is going to be a great model to see replicated later. And if the Fed decides that they're going to go ahead and tell California they can't do it, well, I'm willing to be here for the whole states' rights argument one more time. But we'll have have to see how that plays out. Otherwise, we need to call it a night. And yeah, I'm really, really, really trying really hard not to be really angry tonight. I'm
You've
almost
done well.
succeeding. I'm
You've done
almost
well.
succeeding.
Yeah.
So, over in the chat, guys, thank you. Stephanie, Fearless, Beth, and Beth, just be careful, please. You know, we care about you. We worry about you. We mostly worry about you because, we care about you. So help me, you get hurt again, I'm gonna drive down there. I'm gonna slap you. No, I'm not. Just gonna drive by and just. I'm gonna have to find a Buick because everybody knows what my car looks like. Oh, whatever. Figure it out later. Tech, you have yourself hopefully a safe, healthy, mostly uneventful week ahead. I hope.
Well, don't forget, I mean, thanks to, you know, everything that's going on politically, I'll be able to sleep better knowing that, pregnant adolescents will no longer have to worry about whether or not they see a rainbow, God forbid, in their classrooms, you know, while they're busy dodging bullets.
Yeah.
So I'm going to sleep great knowing that,
Yep. I know that one. I know what you're referencing. I got that
Thank you.
reference. And Brigid, may I make a very strong recommendation for your fuck you for the week?
I got to mute myself because I know I'm going to laugh my ass off on this one.
No, you're probably not going to be laughing. You're probably going to be, yes, 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 yes.
In other words, I'm trying to prevent myself from interrupting.
Okay. I'm going to suggest that your fuck you for the week should go to the Department of Defense for not reactivating General Mayhem and
Ooh.
busting his ass and throwing it into Leavenworth for sedition. For answering
Because they could.
for answering when asked by the January 6th committee, do you believe in the peaceful transfer of power in the United States of America? That motherfucker answered the 5th.
Plead the 5th. Yep.
Right there and then, that motherfucker should have been hauled in by his shirt collar, thrown to his knees in front of a tribunal, and busted him down to whatever the lowest possible rank is, because he obviously hasn't learned jack shit.
And I don't know why it hasn't happened. If they busted some guy for slamming Joe Biden on Twitter, then why the hell not? Not that I'm saying that Joe Biden should have been slammed or anything. I mean, don't interpret that wrong, but they disciplined that guy. So what the hell is going on with Mike Flynn?
Don't know. But I'm waiting for the day to happen. So
He needs to go under Leavenworth. I'm sorry.
yeah, so I was going to say, is that a good enough one, or would you like one of your own?
He'll do.
Do it, do it, do it.
Yeah. And Tech, like I said, were you not sitting back there going, yep, you was right. I absolutely said yes.
Do it, do it, do it.
We'll have to wait and see what happens with all that. In the meantime, as always, everybody, thank you very much for being with us tonight. We hope that you found something worthwhile in all of our perspectives and you got something to think forward to for the week ahead. We will be back again with you next week, assuming that everything plays out the way that it's supposed to. If you'd like to be in touch with us, all our contact information and the download link for the audio version of the show is over at holycrapthevlogcast.com. If you'd like to leave a voicemail message, the number is 859-HCTV-554, 859-428-8554. We will be looking forward to talking to you again real soon. And for those that are wondering, Do I keep track of what's going on the social media for HCTV? Yeah. Yeah, I do. It is not easy with all of what's happened for the news and such. I try. I'm not always great at it, but I try. If there's something that we should know about, let us know. But otherwise, please do be safe. Please be careful. And I keep forgetting to remind people this time of the year, if you want to be out on the water during the summer for a boating, please do not drink alcohol. You want to get drunk? Do it on dry land where if you fall over, you bump your head. You fall over in the water, it will swallow you without a blink, and there's a good chance nobody will know what happened until it's too late. And if you're wondering, how late is too late? You can drown 24 hours after swallowing water into your lungs. Think about that. So till next time, as always, I wish you all the peace I no longer have. I wish you the strength that I've learned. I wish you well. And my lady, 17 years, and I am still in love. Matane Fujin, I love you. I miss you. Dream of me. Till the next time we're together, everyone, as always, good night.